This is amazing. Thank you for being in my life. First of all, I want to say that my tinnitus has bothered me for a very long time, and now I use it. I love it. I use it for my meditation. I can use it any time of the day. It's always there. Helps recenter me, helps refocus me, so it's a good thing now. I've heard you say this is about split energy and moving away from yourself in relationships. I've been single for over 20 years, and I'm okay with it. I'm happy with who I am, but from time to time I wonder, is this like a normal thing? And as I look back on relationships that I've had, I tend to completely give up who I am. And I think that...
Before you started, we were going to tease you just a little bit, or we were going to launch into a discussion about split energy. And we were going to play with you about what's split energy and what's energy that has contrast in it. What's energy that you've just introduced resistance into. So we want to make that distinction because this is important. You will like this, and then we'll listen to you more. When life has helped you to know what you want and you feel pretty sure of it, but you worry about not having it, you focus on the absence of it, that introduces contrast into desire, and so it slows it down. Anytime resistance is added to any equation, it slows down the forward momentum. Split energy is different, subtly different, but importantly different. Split energy is, I want this, 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 I want this. So really what we want to say to you is you have to decide what you want, because by you acknowledging what you want, you see, this is something that you don't know, and it's something that we really want you to know. This is something that hardly any of you know, and it's something that we want you to know, and it's something that we know that you don't know, and it's something that we know that you don't know, that it would be really beneficial if you would know. So here it is. What you want is known by your vortex, even if you don't know it. Because through life, you've been throwing the components. Know what I don't want, know what I do want, know what I don't want, know what I do want. So it is known by your inner being, by the amount of airtime that you've given to different thoughts and different experiences. There is no equivocation going on in your vortex. Your vortex is decided, and it is decided by you. Don't you like knowing that? You do know what you want at a vibrational level. So when any of you say, I don't know what I want, what you're actually saying, when you say, I've got split energy, what you're actually saying is, I'm not consistently enough in tune with my vortex and what I really want to acknowledge it. And that, in fact, is the reason that we've encouraged you through so many years to utilize this process and this process and this process and this process, because it gets you thinking more about what you want. And the more you allow yourself to think about what you want, then the more you are in the receiving mode, where what's in your vortex can be received by you in a way that you can really hear it. Do you know that this thing that so many of you call that ringing in your ear is your vortex trying to tell you something that you're blocking? And you give over to it. You call it lots of other things, but it is at every level of your being some form of resistance, and it's because you just won't let yourself think about what you want. And the reason that you won't make a decision about what you want is because you made so many decisions about what you didn't want about a relationship. And there's a part of you, and this ties right in with what we were saying earlier, there's a part of you that feels as if you must defend your previous decision. If you decided not to be in a relationship, then you spend time, if you're like most people, defending why you're not in a relationship.
I don't think I've decided that. I think it's just kind of happened, and I'm wondering if I'm afraid of losing part of who I am, or losing being willing to let that go, and I don't want to let that go.
You feel like you'll have to compromise, and you won't be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And what if the other person is lazy or sloppy or drools?
And is that okay? I mean, is that okay to just be who I'm just like I feel okay, I feel great, but every once in a while I feel like, well, I kind of wish I had somebody
Well,
in
you
my
are
life.
completely undecided in
Okay.
your human form, but you are not completely undecided in your vortex. And therefore, when you say to us, I'm all right with it, we don't believe you.
Okay.
We think you protest us too much.
What do you mean by that? The protest.
By a denial that there is something that you want that hasn't come about. By saying, I think I'm okay with that. And we don't think you think you're okay with that. You may think you're okay with that, but you're not okay with that if you were paying attention to the way you feel on a pretty regular basis.
Does that mean when I start listening more to my vortex that tinnitus will go away? It doesn't really bother me that much because I'm using it, but does that mean I'm going to start hearing myself better?
Well, in some ways you've changed the subject from the main point of focus.
Okay.
Because when you sat down, what was it you wanted to talk about?
Split energy and losing myself in a relationship.
And split energy differs from resistance in what way? Split energy is, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. I want fun in a relationship, but I want independence. I want the adventure of new, and I like the stability of what I've got going. That's split energy.
That's me.
It's all right. But what we want you to understand is that there is a way to find harmony in all of those intentions, because you can have adventure without giving up security, and you can have autonomy without giving up being alone. In other words, you can have it all. And the reason that we know this so powerfully is because all of it is already homogenized in your vortex. It's all been worked out. All of the cooperative components, they're all there. So when you begin to only tell half of the story, the part of what you do want, or easier, when you stop telling the story at all, when you stop focusing upon that at all, so that you don't keep the split energy going. You know, split energy won't keep going unless you're adding fuel to the fire. So the energy of what you want will naturally go. You don't have to goose it up. You don't have to wake up every morning, set your alarm, and call on your inner being, okay, I'm up, get going. You don't have to say to your inner being, all right, I'm ready for your influence. That influence is always there. But when you stop telling the story of what you don't want, and you start being more sensitive to the way you feel, caring about how you feel, then maybe you'll stay off that subject.
And be able to have both.
Have everything that you want, because everything that you want is already worked out in the vortex. Hard to accept that because you can't see it, and most of you are evaluating what's real by what you can see. But we're asking you to take a leap of faith. We know. We're asking you to trust that the vibrational reality exists. Do you sort of, kinda? We're asking you to trust that your inner being is right there with everything that you want. Do you believe that, sort of, kinda?
Yes.
And so if that vibrational reality exists, then the beginning of manifestations is already underway. And if the beginning of all manifestations is underway, then what's the holdup? What's keeping this robust creative energy from becoming fully manifest? What's getting in the way of it?
Please tell me.
Resistance, split energy, contradictory thoughts, focusing in opposition with what you want, telling the story, sometimes for entertainment, telling the story. The other day, Esther was with someone that she loves more than life itself, her daughter. And her daughter was talking about things, and they weren't negative things, they were just a lot of things. It was a sort of hair blowing back experience for Esther, and Esther sort of walked into all of this, what felt to her like utter chaos. She had come from the sanctity of her own car and her own floating down the highway, and now she's standing in this flurry of conversation, and all of a sudden Esther just blurted out, "Stop talking!" And Tracy just burst into laughter because she understood exactly what was happening. Esther just wasn't up to speed. Not just the conversation. There was nothing wrong with the conversation. There was just so much of it. So many words happening so quickly, you see. So many words about so many things that Esther didn't want to think about at all. Not because they weren't lovely to think about. You just don't need to think about everything all at the same time, do you? Do you need to think about everything all at the same time? Don't you want to just quiet your mind and let yourself receive the next logical step on your way to things that really matter to you? Don't you want to be in a place where you get a hit on something, so you walk over to someone in the buffet and you say, hey, come sit with us? Don't you want to be tuned in, tapped in, turned on, so that you get those impulses and they're strong enough that you follow through with them? Don't you want the chaos in your world to slow down enough that you can tell what matters and what doesn't? That's all we're talking about. You're doing really well, and we have enjoyed the conversation a lot, and we want you to take this in the loving way we mean it. We've appreciated how dense you have pretended to be, and by that we mean like that. Like that. We know you get what we mean, and this is the thing that we want you to really hear from us. As the days go forward, both in what you're going to hear from this platform and what's going to happen to you as you move about, great clarity will occur to you. In other words, this sort of fog of confusion, which isn't real, will lift, and you'll get what we mean here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Really good.
I have one more really quick question.
Really good.